Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a good week on this lovely 16th of November. Yeah, so what, Thanksgiving like in a week and a half. So yeah, hope everybody's having a good week. Nah, all the fallout from FTX, not too bad. We'll jump right into it. Try to keep things short and sweet, so to speak. Really could, from a PMA standpoint, really cool. This little self-portrait is Escher, is the gentleman's name, Dutch artist. He has some really cool geometry and math-inspired works, but this is pretty self-portrait in the sphere is pretty cool. But the whole know thyself from a personal development and PMA resource standpoint, Academy of Ideas, them and After School on YouTube are two of my favorites. So this is a quote from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, I believe is how you pronounce that. Goethe is another pronunciation I think is popular. I actually don't know which is accurate, so if you do, feel free to drop in the comments, let me know. This one, really cool. It says, if I accept you as you are, I will make you worse. However, if I treat you as though you are what you are capable of becoming, I help you become that. So I just thought that was, of all these different quotes in here, really cool. This one, I thought that was funny. So it says, so in trading, there's a term, know thyself, trader, know thyself. Olga Morales, she's from Australia. She actually has a program. It's called Trader Know Thyself. But this quote here, know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. So I thought that was funny. So yeah, so Academy of Ideas from a PMA, personal development standpoint, check them out. Here, this whole, being self-aware and all that fun stuff. The awakened self. Motivation manifested here. Talking about Rosicrucians and things like that. So pretty deep esoteric topics there, but it's all talking about how we can become better persons and develop those higher levels of consciousness and things like that, going from a state of unconsciousness and just kind of in our phones and droning on and not being aware of our thoughts and things like that, taking it to the next step, which is not easy, especially in the times that we live in today. So yeah, so Bitcoin coming off here from a higher time frame standpoint, not a lot's changed for me. I did have a coaching session this week. I'll actually go through, he had a good question. I figured I'd go through on this so that way the video's out there. And if anybody brand new that doesn't really understand TradingView or new to it, this could be a kind of a little pocket tutorial on how to set up charts. But real quick, I'll just give you guys some levels here for those that are interested in that. Again, not a lot's changed for me. This whole lucky number 13 has been out there for a hot minute. And yeah, I mean, I'm still expecting prices to come down sub 14K. And yeah, I mean, 886 for me here is 11 change. So, yep, not a lot's changed. Nothing to do today, but other than let the dust settle and gonna go from there. So yeah, so going from a brand new, how do we set up a chart template to look like this? Come in here to TradingView. We'll go ahead and just go brand new layout. And when we do this, we will get something that looks like this. So you can have a different time frame, you can have a different name, whatever. So if you come up here in the upper left for symbol search, you could type in, say you want to look at the broader market, we'll do SPY. Right, that's what that looks like. And let's say you want to change the time frame, we can come all the way to 1 week, 1 month. I personally like to zoom out to a week by default. And then this is the scale. You can just literally click and drag and zoom it up, down, and then if you do the mouse wheel in the black space here, it zooms out or zooms in. So, and then you can drag around to get a different feel for things. And then in the bottom right, this auto scale, left click it, it'll kind of snap to fit. So by default, we have the price chart, and it's other than the time frame. If we left click here, it says the candles. We could change this to a line chart, or a couple different options here. The most common are going to be candles. These are Japanese candlesticks, and then a line chart. That's funny. Leia has to let everybody know. She says hello. Hope everybody's doing well. It's my little Shih Tzu, Princess Leia. So we'll go back to candles here. And we'll go ahead and remove volume. So if you mouse over volume, see a couple different options. Hide here, obviously, well, not obviously, but hides that. Settings, get rid of it. And the 3 dots, I will show this to you now. If you left click on the more, you can actually go move to, new pane, above or below. Some people like it above. I personally would move it to below, and it just moves it there here. So there's some basics. Again, if you don't, very new to TradingView, this is kind of what you'll see. And then if we want to move it back, move to existing pane above and puts it back, right? Something else I will mention is this is going to be scale A or scale to the right. So if we right clicked on the candles, it says pin to scale now right. So it's there. If we right click on these volume bars here, it's going to say pin to scale. It says now no scale. So we could do it to the right or left and we can zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that for now. So my default template is going to include MACD, which is moving average convergence and divergence. So it's a study of moving averages essentially. I personally like to use the histogram. And then one thing that I had an issue with when I was first starting is we used it to find internal weakness in the markets, and we use price structure, M's and W's, so higher highs and lower highs and higher lows would be the correct terminology for that. So I actually will merge two different MACD studies, and I'll show you why I do that and what it looks like in the end. So the first thing I do is I come into, let's come back here to see that, just left click on the little gear icon here, settings, and I'm going to unselect MACD and the signal line. I personally don't use that. The zero line's fine for this, and then the histogram, by default now it's going to be columns, but you can change this to whatever whatever you like best. So if you can go to cross, it just changes the presentation. I personally like to go histogram, and then I'll come in here to color, and just to make things simple, I make them all the same color, but I like the line thickness from 1 to 2. Again, it's just purely a visual thing for me, personal fit, and feel free to play around with this and find what works for you. So let's go here, select again all the same color, make that, say OK. And now we just have a histogram. So as you can see here, we got the low, we got a little down, up, down, this is kind of easy-ish to see the, lower highs. But me personally, I'll come here to the second MACD study, and what I'll do is I'm going to merge the two studies. But I'm going to make this second one, instead of columns, instead of histogram, I'm going to make it a line. Again, I'm going to make the same color, just, again, preference. So feel free to make it whatever works for you. Let's go here, set the color, thickness to 2. So there's 4 colors here. Again, feel free to play around with the default settings. Save some defaults of your own if you'd like. Feel free. Right, so now I have a histogram and a line study. Same settings, 12, 26, 9, out of the box settings, MACD. But I'm going to go ahead and click the 3 dots here. I'm going to say more. I'm going to say move to existing pane above. Right, so now I have a histogram and a line chart on top of each other. Great. So the only caveat with this is, let me click the drop down just so you can see that. There's 2 MACD studies that are the same. If I click the scale to the right, if you notice in the bottom right, it says there's an A with a circle there. And then over here, there's a Z with the circle, right? So this is going to be scale A, which is right, and this is going to be scale Z, which is left. If I click and drag the scale, see how the histogram and the line aren't the same? Same thing here. Zoom in, right? So what I want to do is I want to right click on the line, and I want to say it's currently pinned to scale Z. I want to make that on the scale A to match the histogram. Right, so now when I click and drag, we now have a histogram and a line chart. And for me personally, I just see the M's and W's, see the market structure. It just helps me see that better. So it's just a preference thing. So the last item that kind of came up that I figured I'd go over here is how do you actually take, so if we want to add an indicator, we go here, and then there's the technicals that are all inbuilt to TradingView. Again, amazing resources here. If you've favorited any scripts, I'll click one of these here, you can kind of see. So if you come in here to any users, scripts, you can click into a script, and then if you actually come down here, there will be an add to favorite. So it's already favorited for mine, so my option here is remove. So if you find a user on TradingView, you can go ahead and add that, and when you do that, it'll show up here in your favorites. You might have to refresh TradingView because again, it's web-based and all that fun stuff. But let's say that you have actually code, right? And you don't know anything about PineScript, you don't know anything about programming, I'll show you actually how to do that here. So first things first, we're going to come back to our chart. Let's go. We're going to click Pine Editor here in the bottom left. It's going to open up the Pine Editor screen. So we have half the chart, half of this. If we click the little maximize, it'll make it all coding. So if you're actually in here coding, it's probably a good idea. But then if you want to minimize, you can go ahead and do that. So I'll just show you that. And so we have an untitled script here. We're just going to go ahead and select everything and delete, right? And then we'll just come over here and copy pasta, Control A, copy, Control V, and we'll go ahead and hit save. Yep, there you go. That's a homage to Brian Beamish. Little joke there. We'll go PineScript test the Willy. So the Willy is a modified, heavily modified Williams percentage R with a 13-period EMA. So the Willy is actually the EMA. Yep, little warning there because, again, this is an older script, but normally it'll say version 4 and you won't see that. So after you save it, you say add to chart. Drops it on there, and now to minimize this or get rid of it, now that we're happy with the way it is, just left click on Pine Editor, and voila. So and by default, you'll notice that the scale over here is going to be scale A, so that should be good to go. So yeah, so if you have zero idea about TradingView, this is how you can set up a price chart and have one or two indicators. And this little MACD thing here is just something that I personally have used myself. And then another thing I'll mention here, if you come, so it's going to be default unnamed, you can come in here and say rename and say you know, test chart layout with PineScript for YouTube. Save it, and then that way if you need to come back, you can also bookmark the actual chart itself, and that way you can just easily find it. So yeah, so I hope that's been useful, and I will share this with the community as well at TRI, because I know it's a pretty common thing for level 1ers. I will actually share, while we're at it here, a couple of the tools here, because this is something that comes up. A couple of the tools I personally like to use regularly, again, when hunting divergence, is going to be this trend line here. What I'll do is I'll actually deselect, when I'm doing divergences, I'll deselect the magnet tool here. And that way, I can easily draw, the different higher lows in this case. So actually, if we're going to actually do a potential bear div, this is kind of a good idea. So here is actually a real world example of a potential, yeah, it did confirm bearish divergence. So we've got higher highs. And let me show you what the difference is if we use the magnet tool. So we come here. When you click on it with the magnet tool, it automatically puts it to the highs, right? So if you want that, great. For me personally, when I'm doing potential or confirmed divergences, I personally don't like the magnet tool on. Line these up from a vertical time frame standpoint, right? I personally like to color code this just when I look at it real quick. Higher highs green for bullish, lower highs red for bearish. Me personally, that's what I like. I'll come in here, and this is how I mark off a chart from a divergent standpoint. You get potential / confirm. So we got the M structure. It's got up, down, up, so lower high, and the confirmation level is going to be right about there. So as we can see, the divergence didn't confirm until about this level here. I personally like to zoom all the way in so I know exactly where that's at. So it crossed right about there. Now MACD, we can only go this bar or this bar. There is no ability to mark it off in the kind of the middle there where it exactly crossed the line. So what I'll do is I mark it off here because it's can't do it before, that's front running, so we'll at least do it after. So yeah, so this is actually a setup that's in my trade plan. I learned it from Brian Beamish at the Rational Investor in his school program. So as of the right of this, so we have price making higher highs, internals showing weakness here, the Willy stupidly over bought, right? This is a potential bearish setup, and man, this thing is embedded here. John Bollinger talks about embedded oscillators as a very, very strong bullish signal. So yeah, anything to the right of this green vertical line where the div confirmed is going to be, I'm going to look for bearish price structure. So, I mean, again, this is kind of cheating because we already know what the chart looks like, but this is kind of how the workflow would go. And also show the students this is where we go into the long and short position. So we can come in here. Let me go ahead and just zoom all the way in. So, and let's just make it super simple for the audience. I'll just change this to a line chart. So the first M on the other side of that, boom, 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 this would have been 1. It confirmed. We would have gotten stopped out there. It's a higher high. So this, ideally would have been, that M. Let's say we missed that M and come in here with a short. Let's just pick that for funsies. Boom. Go 2 to 1. 2 to 1. And then the 50% retracement of this range would be from this low. And I'm going to put the magnet back on here. Boom. And I already have this. So WD Gann, William Dilbert Gann. And you can't predict this kind of stuff any better than that. Look at that. So markets naturally like to retrace 50% of the move, and that and Glorious Technicolor is an example of that. So yeah, so L Tanganator setup. Some people like to go like a version of a 3-step, but has this secondary indicator confirmation here with that heavily modified Williams percentage R. When price, I like to use in fib location, but since this is kind of making higher highs, the location is high. So price making higher highs, internal suggesting weakness, oscillator supporting MACD. Again, we would have taken this in here, gotten stopped out. Linda Bradford Rashke. Let me pull that up actually. Linda Bradford Rashke trading rules. Let's go. Let's see if these are them. Anyway. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe it is. Let's see. I forget which one it is, but there's a rule that we kind of follow. I'll drop that in the show notes there. It takes 2 shots, right? If you have a trade thesis like this, you get stopped out the first time, which that was. Take another shot. She doesn't say take 3, but at least take 2 swings of the bat. And yeah, so in this case, this is kind of a walkthrough of how to create a brand new chart from nothing. By default, it's going to have whatever asset you want. Play around with the time frame, the symbol itself, time frame, bars and candles. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, candles line chart. Sorry about that. And how to create kind of a custom dual MACD study to give it a different appearance. Played around with the scales and how to actually add in a indicator from code in PineScript. So yeah, I hope that was useful for anybody new. Again, we kind of go through that in the level 1 program quite a bit, so I figured I'd just share that once more. And yeah, from a Bitcoin standpoint, it looks like yeah, lower is where we're, next stop is going to be here at 14 and change, but everything has been kind of like, 10,000, big fat round number is a magnet. A lot of cost of production numbers are there, so it kind of feels to be where she wants to go, but market's going to do what the market wants to do. Hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and happy trading. All the best. Peace.